Welcome everybody to today's central exercise session in Mathematics 2. Happy to have so many of you on board. I hope you did have a somewhat relaxing semester break, more relaxing than mine anyway. As usual, there's a chat channel where you can ask questions on this format. The channel is available on chat.tum.de, and the channel is called MA9714-CE. So almost the same as last semester. The change is the module number is now 9714. That was different from Math 1. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to post your question to that chat channel. What I want to do today is I want to give you a quick overview of the topics that we're going to cover, and I'm going to talk about organization a little bit. If you've been in Math 1 in the last semester, you'll know most of these things already. So mostly it's going to be the same as we did it in Math 1. Okay, let me share my screen so that you can see my slides here. Okay, once again, the chat is on chat.tum.de, and this is the chat channel I'd like you to use. So if there's any questions, preferably please use that chat so that I don't have to monitor more than one. The upside of this is after the session has ended, I can go through that chat channel, have a look at the questions and answer those that were not answered on the air. So that's mostly why I prefer this over the Zoom chat channel. Okay, let me first give you a quick introduction to our team this year. Some of you might already know me. My name is Michael Ritter. I'm a member at the Department of Mathematics. My research is mostly in discrete optimization, and we get a small glimpse of optimization in this coming semester. So that you will probably see where my research interest lies in this lecture here. I've been teaching Math 1 last semester, so I hope some of you still know me. And I will be teaching Math 2 this semester as well. In addition to myself, there's also lots of people who will be responsible for the exercises and the questions and answers classes. Some of them you'll know, some of them are new. So we have Tiago Carvalho Corso, we have Zeynep Dusak, we have Elena Erlanger. Then there is Eileen Carlson, who was on the team last semester. We have Julius Krug, and we also have Kyoyoi Nguyen. And finally, Aisha Nurhan, Fabian Scholten, and Kyle Thick. Again, some of those were on the team last semester. Most of those people are new. Some have already worked with me in similar courses, so I know some of these people. Some are new to me as well, but I hope we'll be able to give you a good experience. One person you will probably not encounter in person in the exercise classes, but maybe you'll encounter him on Moodle. This is Julius Meers. He'll be responsible for the quizzes on Moodle. And he'll probably also be the one answering most of your questions with respect to these quizzes. So if you've done the quizzes last semester, or if you've asked questions about those, you'll know Julius already. A few words about the course contents. So what will we cover in this coming semester? We'll start with a section on differential equation systems. So that's mainly the topic of the first week. If you've had a look at the videos already, you'll notice that. The idea is to give you a short introduction into differential equations so that you know the basics. What is a differential equation? Where can it be used? What is a differential equation system? What properties can it have? And we'll also talk a little about computing solutions for differential equations and differential equation systems. Now, this is a topic where you can do a lot of different things. So we'll only scratch the surface of this, but it should give you at least a rough idea of what this is and how you can use it. In the context of differential equations and differential equation systems, we'll also encounter eigenvalues and eigenvectors, and we're going to use those to solve differential equation systems. Basically, an eigenvector is a geometric property of a linear mapping. We talk about those in more detail in the videos. And we're going to use that to what we call diagonalize a matrix. You already know that a linear mapping can be transformed to different coordinate systems, different bases. And one interesting question here is, what might a good choice of bases be? And that's something that we talk about in this chapter here about diagonalization. That's a basis such that the linear mapping has a particularly nice look. In that context, we'll also encounter complex numbers, an extension of the real numbers. And we'll very briefly talk about those so that you know what complex numbers are. Their main interest for us is in their role in diagonalization and in solving differential equation systems. As it turns out, complex numbers are closely related to harmonic oscillations in the real, so sine and cosine functions. And that's where they come in when we talk about solutions to differential equation systems. After that introduction, which basically is a field where both linear algebra and analysis are important, we'll mostly focus on multivariate analysis for the rest of the semester. We'll start talking about sets and their topological properties in higher dimensional spaces. Basically, what that means is on the real line, you have intervals. Those can be closed or opened or half closed, half open. And topological properties means what are similarities to these in general dimension. So that's the topic here. And then we'll talk about multivariate differentiation. So we generalize differential calculus to higher dimensions. We mention things that are called partial derivatives and gradients, mostly a generalization of the first derivative. The Hessian, a generalization of the second order derivatives, and so on. We'll also generalize Taylor approximation to higher dimensions. And similarly to one-dimensional calculus, we'll use these properties to optimize functions, to find maxima and minima of multivariate functions. We'll also briefly talk about numerical methods for that purpose. Specifically, I plan to talk about the gradient descent and Newton's method here. Similarly, as in one-dimensional analysis, we'll also talk about constrained optimization. Remember, we briefly touched that topic. We'll elaborate here a little, and we'll talk about Lagrange functions and Karush-Kuntaka conditions. Those are conditions for the optimization of functions over a certain constrained area instead of the whole space. That mostly covers the differentiation aspect. Of course, the remaining field here is integration. So we spend some time discussing integration in higher dimensions. We'll start with the general definition of integration in higher dimensions. We'll talk about change of variables. Basically, that means using different coordinate systems, specifically in the plane and three-dimensional space. And in particular, we'll discuss polar, spherical, and cylindrical coordinates. We talk about curves in higher dimensional spaces and integrals along these curves, so-called line integrals or path integrals. And finally, we talk about vector fields. Vector fields basically is a method of describing movement in space or fields in space. Let's think of electrical fields, or think of wind, something like that, that can be described as a vector field. And of course, we can also integrate over vector fields, and that's what we're going to discuss as one of the last topics in this semester. Now, let's have a look at the questions. First question is, when will we receive our Math 1 grade? We hope to finalize this sometime this week, but I'm not quite sure yet. Hopefully this week. Will we be covering Jordan normal form? No, we won't. So we'll just cover the easy aspect, diagonalization. Jordan normal form is somewhat of a generalization of diagonalization, and we will not be talking about that. And last question, will I be teaching Math 1 next semester again? The answer is probably no. So if you want to experience Math 1 with someone other than me, one of my colleagues is going to take over Math 1 next semester, as far as we know now. Okay, so that much about the contents. Materials, that's not different from Math 1, basically. All the course materials are available on Moodle. To access our Moodle page, please just register for the course on TUM Online, specifically for the lecture. If you've done that, you will have access to the Moodle course automatically. You'll find the course videos there, you'll find the notes, you'll find the logbooks, the problem sheets, and of course, there'll also be quizzes similar to last semester. There's also a forum for news and announcements, and of course for discussion. So of course, you're free to use the chat system to discuss and to ask questions, but we'll also answer your questions on the Moodle forum, whichever you want to use, whichever is more convenient to you. Both is fine. Okay, problem sheet. Again, pretty much the same as last semester. The sheet will be available every Monday. There'll again be exercise class problems, which will be discussed in central exercise sessions. Those start with a C, so C11, C12, and so on. We'll not be discussing any today. So the first normal central exercise class will take place next week, and we'll discuss sheet number 1 then. Then there's self-study and hands-on session problems. Those are marked with an H for homework. The idea is that you try to do these yourselves, either alone or maybe in small groups via Zoom, or during the hands-on sessions on Thursdays using breakout rooms. And of course, that's where you can also get help from one of our tutors if you need some more explanations. Solutions to the problem sheets will, as usual, be available a little later. I try to have those a little earlier this semester to see if that works. The lecture is mostly going to be held in the form of videos again. So new lecture videos will be available every Monday. There's a Moodle page. On the Moodle page, you can find, for each week, you can find the lecture videos together with the logbook that gives you a quick overview of the topics that are being discussed. And also together with the lecture notes. Those are available for download on Moodle as well. The logbooks also mention the intended learning outcomes. So if you're not sure whether you understood everything that is important, have a look at that list and see if you know all that is mentioned there. The videos are also available on YouTube. And if you have had a look at that, you will notice that I'm mostly reusing material from a year ago. There will be some new videos. I'll have to redo some because they don't quite fit anymore. But I will use a lot of previous material. And all of that is already available on YouTube. So if you want to work ahead, you're welcome to do so. I'm not going to publish everything on the Moodle page to give you a nice pace there. And an idea of what you should work on every week. But if for any reason you want to work ahead, all the previous year's materials are on YouTube, and I'll mostly reuse those. So feel free to skip ahead if you want to. Quizzes. There'll again be quizzes. The idea is to help you check your learning progress. And again, we'll have a new quiz every Monday, starting next Monday. Open for about a week. And of course, it will be open afterwards as well to give you a chance to practice. But for that week, your points will count, so to say. The quizzes are open book, but We would encourage you to not communicate with others during doing quizzes, because that gives you yourself better feedback. And again, we'll incorporate some random elements in the quizzes just to give you more chance at practicing. To give you an incentive of doing the quizzes that hopefully works better than last semester, we count the quiz as passed if you get at least 70% of the available credits. And if more than 50% of registered participants pass each quiz, then I'm going to give you a rehearsal exam at the end of the semester. We do reserve the right to adapt these limits if it turns out those are too high. I already lowered them a little compared to last semester, so hopefully you'll be able to master that this semester. Okay, before we go to the next point, let's have a look at the questions once again. I think we stopped here. Yeah, so someone is asking, can this course be attended even if we failed the Math 1 exam? The answer is yes. There's no formal requirement for this course. Of course, you should have understood everything that was done in Math 1. You will not stand much of a chance of mastering this course otherwise, but there's no formal requirement. You can attend that course even if you failed Math 1. How about the quizzes? Will they have an influence on the grade or whether we get a mock exam? I mentioned that already. There's no influence on the grade, but there is an influence on whether you'll get a mock exam. Class organization differences compared to last semester, not many. I'll come to the only difference in just a minute. And one person is asking, how can we apply to be a tutor in Math 1 in the next semester? If you're interested in that, and if you have decent grades in Math 1, preferably in Math 2 as well, then just write me an email as the semester draws to a close, and I'll forward that to my colleague who's going to teach Math 1 next semester. Yeah, someone mentions 70% might be too high for the quizzes. Yeah, we originally planned 80%. We'll see about that. I hope the questions are a little easier than last time. So maybe the 70% is not that high, but I'll say let's give it 2 or 3 quizzes, and then maybe we'll reevaluate that. And of course, I'm always interested in feedback on that and other topics. So if there's anything you'd like to let me know, then use the forums, use the chat, write me an email, use whatever communication method works best for you. Okay, a few words on the classes. I mentioned already there's going to be a central exercise session. Now, this is going to be a little shorter than last semester. We only have 1 hour. And I made it 1 full hour to give you more opportunity to ask your questions. We use this time slot here, Mondays, 1500 to 1600. And again, the central exercise classes will take place as a Zoom webinar. You already found the link probably. Notes and videos will be available on the Moodle page as always. And the idea is mostly to discuss central exercise problems. So from next week on, I work through the C problems on the sheet, and you'll have opportunities to ask questions about those problems. And of course, other questions about organizational stuff, maybe that's on your mind. If you have any specific suggestions, if there's anything you'd like to see on the next central exercise session, don't hesitate to post that suggestion to chat or also to the Moodle forums, and I'll try to incorporate that. The hands-on classes are again going to take place on Thursdays, same time, same place, 1400 to 1700. Nothing of that is mandatory, by the way. You're free to come and go as you like. Again, we use Zoom meetings, or one Zoom meeting. The link is on Moodle. You'll have the opportunity to work in small groups on the current sheet and also on the previous sheet if you want to, in breakout rooms. And there will be a bunch of tutors available. You've seen their faces already. Those people will be ready to help you if you have any questions about those problem sheets. So basically, you choose your individual schedule for attending the hands-on classes. You don't have to come every week. You don't have to stay for 3 hours. Basically, take as much time as you want to. Q&A sessions. You also know those from last semester. Here's one change for the Q&A sessions. We'll do one additional Q&A format. Again, completely voluntary. You come if you want to. You don't have to come. The idea is that having the videos from last year available is freeing up some time for me. So I have a chance to offer additional content here. And what I'll do is I'll offer a lecture Q&A. So this will take place once a week. I'll post the exact schedule on the Moodle page. We'll probably do Thursday mornings for 45 minutes, so 1 hour. And the idea is that you can ask questions on the current week's lecture videos here. So you're watching the lecture videos, any question that comes to your mind. If anything is unclear right away, just pop into this lecture Q&A. There's no registration for that. Just pop in and ask your questions. I'll be available for any questions on the videos here. And of course, there's also going to be the regular Q&As, the ones that you know from last semester already. We'll announce the schedule. I haven't discussed those with my tutors yet, but there's probably going to be 2 or 3 Q&As per week, depending on the demand. We'll see about that. Those require prior registration. We'll probably also do a bunch of registrations for 2 or 3 weeks each time. Each Q&A is limited to 20 participants so that there can actually be a good discussion during those Q&As. And there's no fixed program for those. So feel free to bring whatever questions you have to the Q&A sessions. I'll post a message on Moodle once the registration for those opens. We'll probably start opening the registration by the end of this week, and hopefully we'll start with the Q&As next week then. Okay, generally all exercise classes start this week. The regular Q&As are the only exception. Those will start next week. So the first hands-on tutorials and the first lecture Q&A will take place this Thursday already, in case you have any questions about the current videos or about the current exercise sheet. So that was the only difference, right? The lecture Q&A, the only difference from Math 1. Before we get to the exam, let's have a look at the questions once again. So one asks about extended tutoring, if there is a way to get help from tutors at TUM. Basically, I just told you what we can offer. We have the Q&As, we have the hands-on sessions. Of course, we have the forum and the chat. That's where you can reach us for questions. If you need more help beyond that, then basically you're on your own. So there's, as far as I know, no offer from TUM, at least not for this course. Is it possible to merge all lecture notes regarding a particular topic for us? If you think that would be helpful. I mean, it's just a matter of merging PDFs, basically. We can, of course, discuss that. Do you personally like the second or the first semester more? Hard question. Really hard question. I think both semesters have interesting aspects, and for me personally, not so interesting aspects as well. That's not easy to decide. Both are not too close to my actual area of research. Can you please briefly explain what the best way is to plan the learning of this course weekly in order to take the exam successfully? So I would suggest you start by downloading the logbook on Monday. Each Monday with the videos, a new logbook is posted. That gives you, on one page, usually a brief outline of what to expect this week, and also of the intended learning outcomes. My suggestion is to then take one of the topics mentioned on that logbook. It's usually several topics. Watch the videos for those, maybe take your own notes during doing that, and or take my notes and add your own notes to those. And then I'd have a look at the exercise sheet. The logbook also mentions problems that are fitting for each of the topics. So once you have gone through the videos for one of these topics, I'd pick at least one of those problems, see if you can solve that already, or see what questions might arise. And then you might want to rewatch one of the videos if you feel you haven't understood a particular topic, or might want to go through one of the examples. Of course, afterwards, there's also the tutorials. So if there's any more questions, feel free to attend the tutorials, ask your questions there. Or there's the central exercise session, where I'll show you how I would solve those problems for a selected set of problems. So if you feel completely lost, you can also wait for that. Wait for the examples that I present there and then try again. Yeah, and of course, you're free to also ask questions in that week's tutorials on Thursday. That's what I would suggest. But as usual, people are different, so the best way for you might be very different from the best way for me. Could you offer a lecture script with all the formal mathematical definitions of the topics covered? So you will, of course, get my lecture notes. Those do contain the formal definitions. I don't have a typed up lecture script, if that's what you actually mean. So there's no such thing I could offer you. You want us to provide questions before coming to the lecture Q&A on Thursdays, like the night before. So if you already know you have a question that might require some preparation on my side, then feel free to send that to me. But you don't have to. You can just attend the Q&A and ask your questions there. Of course, if it requires some preparation, like could you give us one more example of this and that topic, I might not have that at hand. Then we might have to defer that question until next week. There's a question about the exam date. I can't tell you the exam date yet. I don't really know about the plan. That's being done centrally for all the large exams. So we just have to wait until the results are in there. I think the idea was to have the first exam by the beginning of August, first week of August or so, and the retake in the first week of October, but it's not quite fixed yet. I'll let you know once I have those dates. Will Math 2 be similarly complex and much to do? Well, multivariate analysis surely is a complex field. There's lots of things you can do, and in many fields we'll only be able to scratch the surface once again. It's not going to be that much, mainly because we have less hours in Math 2. So Math 2 is only 3 hours of lecture, 1 hour of exercises for the essential exercises plus tutorials if you want to. So it's not going to be that much. But yeah, it is going to be complex. I'm sorry. There is a cost accounting exercise on Thursday morning till 9:30. So it would be great if the lecture Q&A could be afterwards. Yeah, I'll see about that. So we'll keep it at the current time slot for this Thursday, and then maybe we can move it to some other time slot. Thanks for the heads up. The class on Thursday at 8:45, that is the lecture Q&A. So the lecture Q&A is at Thursdays 8:45 to 9:30, and it will be held as a Zoom meeting. Is it possible that the notes are provided in PDF format? They are in PDF format as far as I know. If they aren't, then there's been some mistake, then please let me know. And last question, are the lecture videos on YouTube already? So on YouTube, you'll always find the current videos. There's always a playlist for the current videos. And the videos from last year are available on there as well. I'm mostly going to use those. So if you want to watch ahead, then you can do so on YouTube. Okay, that's all the questions that are currently in the chat. Let's talk about the exam briefly. I'm afraid there's no big surprises there. Mostly, unfortunately, we still have this little virus here with us, and it's still going strong. Maybe our politicians will come to the right conclusions in the coming weeks, or maybe not. I've kind of given up waiting for that. So I still can't really tell you how we'll be able to conduct the exam in summer. What I can tell you is what is common for both possible formats. The exam is going to be in English. Answers will be accepted in English or in German or any understandable mix of those two languages. As you know, the exam requires prior registration on TUM Online. And there's going to be one attempt by the end of the semester, right after the end of the semester probably, and one before the next semester starts by the end of the semester break. For the on-campus option, that would again be a written exam. The exam's duration, it will always be 90 minutes. If we can go for the on-campus option, I'd prefer a closed book examination, but I would allow you an individual formula sheet. So you would get to bring one DIN A4 paper that you can write on anything you want. I'll give you more details on that once the question of the examination format is settled. What you already have experienced is the remote option. Again, if there's no possibility to write an on-campus exam, we'll go for the remote option once again. We'll do this in the same format as in Math 1, as a 90-minute one-time remote exercise, open book, because there's no way I can't control you anyway, with 15 minutes extra for scanning and uploading the examination. And as in Math 1, a prior code of conduct would be required for that. I'm going to let you know about the details once things become more clear. But just that you know, these are the two principal options that we have here. So let's see, question about the exam. Do you know if the exam will be held physically? Well, no, I don't, unfortunately not. Can we use a calculator in the exam? So if we have to go for the remote option, then of course, yes. If we are going to go for the on-campus option, then no. Do the retake exams get the leftover topic exercises in general? I found the last one a little weird. I didn't find it weird at all. But yeah, no, they don't get leftover topics in general. Of course, the original exam and the retake exam will in general not have all the same topics. That would be a little boring. Plus, it would give an advantage to those who only do the retake, and I don't think that's fair. So I'll certainly also cover other topics, but not exclusively. And if you found that weird, actually, I'd be interested in more input. So maybe you can write me an email with your opinion on that. How much time before will we get informed about which exam we will write on or off campus? I do hope to have that information, let's say mid-May or so. So in about 4 weeks, that's when I should make the official announcement. But depending on the pandemic, things might change quickly. The least you'll get is 2 weeks notice. So worst case, we'll have to change the format 2 weeks before the exam actually happens. I do not hope that will happen. So I'll try to have that information as soon as possible. But especially if we are going for the on-campus option, and then the virus surges again, we might have to change that on short notice. Is it possible that the notes are provided in script format? Maybe 1 or 2 tutors can work it out. So I guess by script format, you mean something like typed format. And I already said I don't have typed notes, so I cannot give you those. And I can't really make my tutors type those up for me. I mean, they have a lot of things on their hands already. I'm not going to bother them with that. Okay, so as I said, details about the examination, hope to have those soon. My aim is to provide you with the final decision in about 4 weeks. But as I said, there's always a chance we'll have to change all on short notice. Final point, I think, on my slides is class communication. Basically, you know how this goes already. for communication with me and with my tutors, there's several ways that can be used. You can use our chat channels at chat.tum.de. You're doing that already. There's this channel MA9714CE for questions mainly during central exercise session, but also questions concerning central exercise sessions or suggestions for the next CE class. There's also a more general channel, MA9714, general for all questions that you think don't fit in the CE channel. And again, there's also the forum on Moodle that you can use for questions. If possible, please don't write emails, simply because I don't scale that well. I cannot answer that many emails. The questions on the forum or the chat could also be answered by my tutors. That would make it a lot easier. Of course, that's different for confidential matters. If you have any confidential things that you need to discuss with me, for example, if you want to point out that you have disadvantaged compensation for the exams, then please do write me an email. Otherwise, use the chat or the forum. Mostly also because questions that you ask might be of interest to others as well. And my experience is that I often get the same questions by email 2, 3, or more times. So it's a lot easier to just ask them once on the forum, answer it once on the forum, and then everybody can read that. Or I can just refer to that if someone asks about it. So preferably use the forum or the chat. But of course, I will also try to respond to emails. If there's any questions about study regulations, I usually cannot answer those. That's simply because I'm not a member of your department, unless you're studying math, of course. So that I don't know some of the details of your study regulations. Basically, I know the outline of it, but I don't know all the details. And I don't know how your examination board handles certain things. So your best bet is here to talk to your study advisors of your specific department. There might also be students that are not in the management classes, but maybe in other study programs at TUM. And of course, I don't know much about those study programs either. So things might be very different for you. Regulations might be very different. And your best bet, again, is to ask your study advisors for questions about examination regulations in general. Okay, that's all I have on my slides here. Let's see if there's any more questions from you. Someone is still typing, so maybe we'll give it a minute or two. I think all the questions that were asked on the Zoom chat have been answered on the CE chat already. If I missed some, please just copy that to the CE chat. I can always answer questions afterwards there as well. I'll just stop the screen sharing. Will you have extra points from the quizzes? No, there's not going to be a grade bonus or something like that. What you will get from the quizzes, if enough people are successful, then you'll get a mock exam at the end of the semester before the actual exam. So basically same regulation as in Math 1. We try to lower the hurdles a little, and we'll see how that works. So the idea is a quiz is passed if you get at least 70% of the credits. And I'd like to have at least 50% of the participants pass all quizzes, and then I'll give you this mock exam. Okay, if there's no more questions, if there is any more questions, then please ask now. But that does not seem to be the case. And I guess we can close this session for today. If there's any more questions coming up, please just post them to chat or to the forums. I'll try to answer them there. Otherwise, I hope I'll see you on Thursday, maybe in the lecture Q&A or in the tutorials, or on Monday in the next central exercise class, the first one that'll actually talk about real exercises. So next Monday, we'll start discussing sheet number 1. Okay, so thanks for coming to this class, and I hope I'll see you this week or next week. Goodbye.